Hi everyone, so today I'm going to be using the Creative Craft Products Scoreboard and Envelope Box Maker to make a box again. In the last video I made a box and a rosette. The rosette's very simple, very straightforward, very fun. You can continue doing that however you like to do that, but the box was just a little too loose, and I mean, just off the top, you know, as I was using it, I was like, that's like a 1/4 inch. Like the lid is a 1/4 inch wider than the box base, right? And usually it's an 1/8 inch all around, meaning you're working with 1/16ths, which these boards don't have. But if this is still available, I will have it linked in the description box before I get too far here. Those will be affiliate links, which means I'll make a small commission if you purchase items to those links. So thanks for using those. So in my mind, I was like, you know, so we can pull this out from the bottom here. It has this little guy. So if you have like the Martha Stewart or any other board where it only has the score lines, it doesn't have the box maker built in. Because basically what happens, like this one, this is that little cutie from Hunky Dory, let's say. So if you measure on this side, it's, you know, for your box lid, and if you measure backwards going this way, it's for the box base, right? Very similar with the Crafts Companion. You measure on this side, then you turn the board the other way, measure the opposite way. And what happens on this opposite way, on this little bit, if you're lining up here, there's like a little divot in here, and it's an extra 1/16. So if this starts at 8 and goes this way, that's a legitimate 1 inch. But when you're buttoning your paper in there, that little bit of gap right there is what's giving it a 1/16 of an inch. Excuse me. In this case, this was giving it a 1/16 of an inch less. So some boxing bases or scoreboards tell you a little bit different. All right, it's a little bit opposite. Either one's going to be a 1/16 because it makes it bigger or smaller. It just depends on how they design their board. But anyway, so for this one, we do have instructions for gift box, and I think that's fine because it has a lot of numbers on here. I mean, there's a ton of different sizes, and then it doubles over, which is very interesting. I do like that, so I think I'll still do something like that. Maybe we'll make a smaller box just to do it kind of quick. The doubling over is a whole different thing, but maybe we'll do it both ways. Maybe we'll do it the way I normally do, with just to cut it, and then we'll still do it this way. But what I'm going to do is just add an 1/8 of an inch to one of my papers, basically, so that we can cut it, and one of the papers, whenever you do the 2-inch scoring, let's say, in the middle, you're going to still have an extra 1/8 of an inch because you didn't account for that. I hope that makes sense, and we'll see. And that way, when we do this and we're using the score lines, we've already accounted for that extra 1/8 of an inch that this board puts back into your project on one of them. I think that'll work. I don't know. It seems like it'll work. And then what else? I guess that's it. So what I'm going to do is just grab some papers, and we'll get started with how I normally do it, and then maybe we'll do one of their way, okay? So I'll be right back. So I could get some numbers off of here, but I'm not going to because I'm going to do it without the doubling over, and this adds the doubled over amount. And what I mean by that is on these edges, they double it over. So I'm not going to use anything that's on there, but we'll just make it up off the top of our heads. So let's say we want a box that's going to end up 4-inch square. Should we maximize our paper? Let's maximize our paper. So if this is an 8, I actually think this is an A2 size paper. We're just going to come up with some numbers, and I know it's super unprofessional, like I've been told by some people. 8.5 by 11. Let's think. 5.5 and add to that 7.5. 6 inches and a 1-inch base. That'd be 6, 7, 8. Okay, so let's do 6.5. Hold on. Okay, so this might be kind of weird, but let's say, because I want to maximize that paper, I'm just making up numbers, and obviously I don't have a project that I'm heading towards, but 6 3/8. So let's say 6 3/8, and then we're gonna need an inch up and inch all around. So that'd be 8 3/8. So I'm messing with this lighting. It looks kind of weird. Let's do 8 3/8. Ooh, that looks even better. A square inch. Okay, so on this one. And then we'll talk about which one's the base and the top. So I'm just going to cut this to an 8 3/8 inch square. Now, most trimmers, paper trimmers, they have like the small little numbers, so you can definitely find that pretty easily, 8 3/8, okay? And I'm just taking off like the smallest amount, as you can see. So this is an 1/8 of an inch. This is what you need for your lid or your base to be different, right? That little bit, and it's going to be split in half, and that's why it fits nicely, where this other project, when we had done it the way they described with the scoreboard, it was just way too loose. Like, it was way too loose. Okay. So this is going to be our box top, and it's going to have a 6 3/8 inch center. Now I want the box base to be an 1/8 of an inch smaller. Remember, we were talking about that. We're going to compensate for that here, and then we're going to just do the same score lines. So 6 3/8 plus the 1 inch, you know, on the sides. I'm just doing a 1 inch box. So it's going to be kind of a big box, but pretty skinny. So that's my box lid. For the box base, I'm going to do 8 1/4. So that's 6 1/4. You know, because we're doing an 1/8 inch smaller, but we're adding the 2 inches, so an inch all around. And you can make it deeper, but I'm maximizing my paper as far as like the top of the card, the box, so I can't do much more than the inch I've already done. So 8 1/4. And if we do everything correctly, then this should just work out. And all we did was just add an 1/8 of an inch to our box top. So I'll start with the box top, and I'm just going to do this with everybody. I'm taking my little, oopsie, scoring tool from the base there. And I'm just going to go around and do a 1 inch on this one and the other one. So all around 1 inch, okay? I'm just marking 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch. Okay, and I'll do the same thing for this one. 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch. So I have to show y'all, but we're staying on the same side. There's no box making option on here where you do something else. Okay, so 1 inch all around, and I'll be right back. And you know, just as easy as ever. So what I like to do with these guys is just come in. We'll do the same thing with the box top and the base. This is the base, but it doesn't matter. We're gonna do the same thing on both of them. And I just go around like a pinwheel, but if you like to do, which is what they do on this thing, is cut here and then divot it out that way so it's coming from the same direction. That's up to you. I always just kind of go around and around, but whatever's that you like to do. I'm gonna do the same thing with the box top, okay? And just divot out the little corners. Same thing here, same thing all around. Okay? And then we also need to score them. So I'm just gonna bring this guy. You can give it a good score, and then bring this guy in, score, okay? All around, I'll do the same thing with the box lid portion, and I think we're gonna be good, guys. Okay? And I'll do the same thing with this guy. And on both of them, again, all you do is glue the tabs in. So, bring that in. I always just put it right to the side, making sure it's nice and level there. And then if I have enough little clippies, I'll bring these guys in and I'll move on. I always put it to the very edge. I want that to stay really nicely, and that'll keep this other part staying. Okay, and again, I'll hold it. I can't see any more of my clips. Okay, it doesn't take too long. If you like to use tape, I don't think using tape on this would be the biggest issue, because really it's when things are like lids and stuff that like move in a certain way, or those kind of things, or like a box that has a lot of tension, right? This is kind of a simple thing, so if you want to use liner tapes, I don't think it's a problem. I just like glue anyway, so. Okay guys, and then this last one, and I'll do the same thing with our lid. Okay, I'll be right back. There's our little box base. Again, it's like a pizza box. Oh, you can also make a pizza box. It's pretty cool, because you can just extend this. Anyway, we can talk about that another time. But I guess we have moment of truth. I think that's the base, is the first one I was working on. And then we can build on top of this and decorate it really cute, right? So, you know, these are 1 inch by, so you know that this is 1 inch deep, and then for the box lid is 6 3/8, right? So you can just make matte layers from that, and then your top is 6 3/8 inch square, where the bottom one should be 6 1/4 inch square. And this is moment of truth. Let's see how we do. Not bad. Now see, it holds on a lot better. There's space, obviously, this thin paper, but like the other one, excuse me, yeah, and then the original one is just so, it literally had a gap like this big, and I don't have it here to show you guys because I guess Miranda took it, but anyway, not the greatest. So this is a much better fit. So let's say you have this board and you have these numbers, and you're like, well, what do I do now? You can still follow these instructions, but what I would do is add an 1/8 of an inch to one of the papers, so like 10 by 10. So let's say, okay, this time I'm gonna do a one that's 10 by 10 and one that's 10 1/8 by 10 1/8. Just adding that 1/8 of an inch, okay? And then I would still just use these same numbers, 2 and 4. I wouldn't even bother with these numbers. Okay, so for the base and the lid, I would use these same numbers right here. So we can do that today. Let's go ahead and do that today. So I'm gonna cut, I'm gonna make this little 2 by 2 by 2 box, why not? But I'm going to cut a piece of paper that's 10 by 10 and a piece that's 10 1/8 by 10 1/8, okay? And I'll be right back. Okay, so 10 by 10 and 10 1/8 by 10 1/8, and then the score lines are gonna be the same. We don't even care about that. We're just going to use the ones for the base. And that means 2 and 4. So I'm going to bring this. Again, this is the one that's 10 1/8. As you can see, it's right there at the 1/8. But we're going to score at 2 and 4. It's going to be like the smallest box. I did like the finished piece though, because it felt much sturdier than just when you do it just with the without doubling it over. But it is odd. So anyway, 2 and 4 and 2 and 4. And this is actually going to be our lid, because again, if I was to actually measure this little space in here is going to be 2 1/8. I'm sorry about the lighting. That's weird. Okay, so 2 1/8 there. That's our lid. And then I'm going to go ahead and score this one 2 and 4, 2 and 4 all around still. So 2 and 4. And I'll go on all sides and do the same thing, okay? I'll be back. This is so fun. It's going to be like a little ring box. So you can see, look at all these little squares. So, craziness. Again, this is odd because you basically cut away a ton of the paper. So they're showing you here what to score and what to cut. So, you know, and like again, I said they do it with this side and then this side. They don't mess around with it too much. So they're going to want you to cut right from here to here. And if you guys remember in the last video, I showed you that we ended up cutting that down also. But anyway, that first little square area or rectangular, whatever shape it is when you go to make your box, I'm doing this. And what's interesting is they don't show to cut anything away, and I'll show you right now what that would look like. So again, here and here. And then we're basically cutting out all of these lines. Now I trimmed some away, now we'll talk about why, because it's odd if you don't, basically. But they don't really show you that in these instructions. And then basically we're cutting out every line other than on the opposite side, right? But we'll cut that in just a minute. So if you keep all of this, what they're saying is you're going to keep all this. I am so sorry. Let me mess with my lighting. I'll be right back. It's entirely too orange, guys. I'm sorry. I had fixed it earlier when I was using the white paper. Anyway, so you have all this. Looks kind of funny right now. It's just because of the shape of the thing. But they're saying fold this over. And I don't know what they want you to do with this part, because if you fold this over and bring this in, you have all of this left over. You can't use it, you know what I'm saying? So for me, we're back on these sides where we cut. I'm going to get rid of some of these flaps. Now it's up to you which one. I kind of got rid of the outer ones because it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm going to snip here. Snip here. Just around the line. And I usually do this before I start scoring. I just wanted to show you kind of what would happen if you kept everything. And then here, you know, we want to get rid of one of these. There's no need for it. And then I divot this in just a little bit so that it settles in nicely. Now I'll show you what this looks like as opposed to this other side where we still have at least that piece. So now when we come in here and we fold this over and we do this, that's going to be folded over nice. This piece is going to go over here. That's basically your glue tab, right? So let's fold this one. So when this comes in, now it folds in there and it's going to be taken care of really nicely when this folds over it. Okay? And on this side, we still have all this stuff that they initially didn't even mention. So unless you bring it all the way around, I mean, it's just really bulky. So I'm going to continue cutting and I'll show you what that looks like. So again, here, we're not going to mess with this one. We're going to get rid of this outside one. I'll show you what the figure looks like when we're done here. Let me get a little closer. I was going to be lazy and pull it, but let's not do that. This is going to be like a little tiny little ring box. Okay, so one side looks like this. Right, this bottom side right now, it has the scores. On this one long tab still. These little glue tabs that we just created. And when we turn it back to this other side, we already got rid of one of the extra ones. So we're going to take this away. We're going to take this away. And then just tab this out. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. It's gonna be the exact same shape when we're done, but I'm gonna show you that shape right now. So got a little deep on that one. Okay, so this is what it should look like. You have a score line. Of course, the score line's everywhere. And then this long guy has this score line also. Okay, and everything should be folded in towards wherever you would consider the wrong side. Okay, that is what your piece should look like. And then the other piece would look the same when I get back. Okay guys, so I guess I can move this away. Let's tuck this back. So yeah, there's quite a bit of paper there. You can use for die cutting if it's, you know, like a really precious paper you're using. Okay, so everything again is scored in. And again with this one, what you're gonna do is very interesting. This goes down like this by itself, but then these guys clip in here. So actually, maybe I'll start with that part. I think last time I did it a different way. You know, it's whatever you want. Oh, let's not get the glue over there. We're gonna fold these guys in. I actually don't remember, maybe I did the same way last time, I don't know. We're gonna do the exact same thing on both of them. Fold these in, and I am actually taking a moment to actually give it a good score, because the way I normally do my stuff, I don't, but like when I come up here I want to make sure that this is, because these are basically essentially the same size, right? 2 inches, 2 inches, so you don't want it to block itself. So when I score it, I'm scoring a little bit out, kind of pull that away from the center. And then for these guys, I put some glue here, I think is what I did last time. I put a little glue here, depending on where they're touching. I put glue over here. So what we're going to do is bring these in, bring this up, right, and then bring it over. I don't want to get glue on my hand, but I did it anyway. And give yourself a little minute to kind of adjust that, right? Kind of bring that in, look at the outside and see what that's looking like. And then just put that down and give it a little squish with your tool. Looks pretty good. And then, you know, it finishes the inside, which is actually really nice if you're using a pattern paper. So it's a fun technique, because I've never really made boxes like this, and apparently that's just how people were getting around doing it before. But again, one of my boxes is 1/8 of an inch bigger. Sorry, I didn't put the glue like I did last time. So this time bring it in, bring this down, clean up whatever glue. I got a little glue on the edge here. And look on the outside, see that it looks like a nice fit. It can be pushed in a little bit more. It's such a cute little box, a little 2-inch square cube, basically. A 2-inch square cube as opposed to a 2-inch circular cube. Anyway, a little redundant there. So we have that guy. I'm gonna do the exact same thing for this one. So these two guys, sorry, the ones that have the little glue flaps, basically you're just gonna glue them to themselves, right down like this. So again, same thing as I did before. Maybe a little neater on the glue before. Okay, so this, and then I'll glue the flaps and the thing over and the thing over, just like I did before. Okay, I'll be right back. I'm on this last little wall, and you know, I'm a little smitten with this technique because it just finishes it off so nice. It's so cute. It feels so sturdy. You are going to get limited though at a certain point, right? Because you're adding so much paper to the ends. Basically, I mean, this one we added 4 extra inches of paper all around that we just tucked back in, right? So where on this one I can use an 8.5 by 11 and still get a really big box. You cannot do that with this other one. So, alright, now this is the moment of truth for this one. I honestly don't even know which one's the lid or the base. I think this is the lid. It looks slightly larger, right? You can tell by here. Look at that. Look at that. The 1/8 inch all around, right here. 1/8 of an inch, here an 1/8 of an inch. So this is our base. This is our lid. Oh yeah. Look at that. I really like this technique. So again, I went by what they were saying on the thing. It's a little too much. So if you have a box like this, or if you're, you know, planning on doing something like this, and you only have like a very basic scoreboard that has 1/8 of an inch, that's important. just add 1/8 of an inch all around to one of the sizes. So 9 by 9. So then the second one's 9 1/8 by 9 1/8, right? 9 1/8 inch square. And then just use these numbers, but don't use the lid numbers. Or just use the lid numbers if you want it, but don't use the base numbers, right? So just depending on how tall you want your sides. But just use one set of numbers for both the lid and the base, and then add 1/8 of an inch all around on one of your papers, okay? I think that'll be great. It worked really lovely. I mean, that just is adorable. My hand. So yeah, this goes in here. If you can have, it has a ridge you can feel, and it's basically gonna line up right at the end. Pop that in. That's how that goes. And then our little stick goes in however you like. Our little stick. I think that's what it's called, right? All right, guys. Well, you know, I think the video is probably long enough, but I would definitely, obviously, you know what, maybe I'll use this for a video coming up or something, because I know I have a ton of square dies that I want to use, and ooh, I even have some from that John Next Door that I recently picked up on Craft Stash. Yes, 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 so we will decorate that. This is just a little cutie, oh my gosh. I mean, if you just put little treats in there, I mean, how many is it going to hold, but it just looks so cute, and then you put a little something on top. Oh my gosh. And then very easy to decorate if you make your own matte layers, because it's a 2-inch square, right? 2 1/8 inch square, but we can just pretend it's 2 inches, and you can still get some nice matte layers without accounting for the 1/8 of an inch. All right, guys. Well, there it is. Anyway, in that last video, a lot of you guys are like, oh, I know you're going to come up with something better. And I was like, I already have an idea, because it's such a simple thing. Easy little fix. But anyway, thanks for asking, guys, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye now.